My name is John Silva. I have PTSD. I have PTSD from severe, massive child abuse. I was born into a group of people who are those who not care. They're the type to not care versus a right way to be, which is to care. And my very first memory was at the age of 2.5, fearing being beaten by the belt because I was playing doctor, and I was referencing a beating I had 6 months earlier. So that means that sometime around the age of 2, I was beaten really bad to where it traumatized me and made me fear being beaten. I was never shown any love. I was essentially never fed. By the age of 6, I was going to the movies by myself. I was taking my sister. By the age of 7, I was being stripped naked and whipped with an electrical extension cord. I've had a lot of bad experiences. Experiences that would have left a person unable to be here today. And what it did to me is by the age of 7, I had PTSD. I wasn't diagnosed until the age of 17. At the age of 7, I had become too hurt and I couldn't go outside and be around other people any longer, because in the position I was in of being hurt, being around other people only made it harder for me and hurt me more. So I just stood inside and stopped going out, and from that point, essentially, I had been inside my whole life. By the age of 17, I was realizing that I was taking a lot of side streets, and I couldn't figure out why I was having such a hard time around other people. I had mentioned to my primary care doctor at the time, Dr. Bahatnagar, of all the abuse I had experienced, and she said I had PTSD. I wasn't really aware of what that was, and I just knew that I had a hard time being around other people, and I was very hurt. I've always been a caring person. I've always been a black sheep of my of the group of people I was related to, and it's because I chose to care. I saw the position I was in, and I realized that if you cared, it would be a simpler, easier way than to not care, which would be harder. And the way this abuse manifested itself is it left me in a fear of my life, a fear of being hurt or dying from hurt, that I didn't realize until the age of 33. And it took me another 5 years before I could have another thought other than a fear of being hurt constantly. And then essentially from the age of 38 to about 41, I had a good 3 years there where I could let go. And then the hurt, as it does, became too much for me. And I slowly became too hurt to take care of myself. And one of the things that happen when you get hurt is that it makes you work at the hurt. It makes you become a part of the hurt. And the best that we can do is to just accept it and just take care of ourselves, focusing on what makes us happy and then caring from there. And so I had become so ingrained in hurt from the moment I had been born that I absolutely had no way of surviving this hurt. And by the age of 27, I killed myself. I took over 400 sleeping pills and died. And the doctor said that somebody upstairs must owe my relatives a favor. And I knew I owed somebody upstairs a favor. I went to a place that was of nothingness. All I could do was hear my voice. Everything was darkness. Couldn't see anywhere at all. And the prize fighter, George Foreman, said he went to the same place when he had committed suicide. And he said someone told him to say a prayer, and he said he doesn't care what anybody says. He believes that God is love, and then he came back. And this hurt has been so massive for me. I've had periods in my life from the age of 17 or 18 where I've been completely inside all the time. In my early 20s, I was agoraphobic. I couldn't go out. I would recall 3 weeks at a time of being unable to go out. In the hurt that I felt was so massive and so severe that I've only been able to have some sense of relief recently. But I could never get to that position because I was so massively hurt and I was so ingrained in hurt that the more I worked at it, the more hurt I became, to where ultimately I became so disabled to where I haven't been able to brush my teeth in the last 5.5 years. I haven't been able to cook for the last 5.5 years. I haven't been able to clean my apartment for the last 5.5 years. About 5.5 years ago, for a good 3 years straight, I was just lying in bed. And I had become so hurt that I lost 3 apartments essentially in the last 3 years from yelling from the hurt. That I'm not a violent person. I don't like yelling, and but it was the only way that it could come out of me because I'm not the kind to not care. I don't hurt other people. That's the one thing I don't want to have nothing to do with. And so I've been essentially just withering away in a state of hurt, unable to take care of myself, trying to do the best that I can to take care of myself. And physically, I was so hurt that the very first chance I had to try prana was in August of 2015. Within just 2 days, it was had such an amazing effect on me that the people who've known me here at Harborside started to cry. And so I had a chance to use the medicine for a month, and it really helped me out, and it was active. It had a part of the high part, was mostly of the healing part. And when I initially used it, I had a scrape on my knee, and it healed in 8 days, and it would normally take me 3 weeks to heal. And I recall that within 2 to 3 days, it was healing. By the 6th day, it was chipping away, and by the 8th day, it was gone. It was healing like when I was younger. And I had a period of time when I stopped using prana, and I got another scrape, and it took 3 weeks. So it was a control that enabled me to know that prana was healing my body. And then in February, things were getting really hard for me because I've essentially gone through a whole lifetime of just having every single day of my life being in a state of hurt. The horror that I went through as a child has reflected through my experiences in life. And that horror left me in a position of people who were to not care with things. So then I had to deal with the effects of that. And it was ingrained in me. It was all, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, everything was a part of me. Yet it wasn't my soul. It wasn't who I am. It's not who we are. And by this year, in January and February, I was so ingrained in the hurt. I couldn't get out of it. I would have things that triggered me, and then I would just be stuck there, and there was nothing I could do to get out. And the day that I realized that I could not do this anymore was the day that a friend of mine from Harborside called me up and said that they had prana available for me. And on that day, I was so grateful, and I thanked her, and I told her she was saving my life because I knew how prana had helped me out before. And so what ended up happening is that I decided to pick up prana the next day. I took that night and I went for a long bike ride. I knew that this physical hurt, this physical pain that's ingrained in me was going to be gone. That I was going to have some place inside of me and my body that was going to be healed. And that's exactly what happened. And then from there, it enabled me to take responsibility for my soul. Because once you take prana, it heals your body, and then from there you start to see things differently. You start to recognize things, and then you have to start to take responsibility for yourself. You start to recognize that the hurt is a lie. That no matter what you do to work with it, it's just going to be a lie, and that it's just going to leave you hurt. And then you come to accept that it's just a lie, and that's where the beginning of healing with PTSD begins. Is that when we're hurt, we're left with an unacceptance. And then we're just dealing with this unacceptance all the time, even if we accept with it or care with it. And that we have to get to a point where we can just accept that the hurt is a lie and that the love is truth. And then once we do that, we're enabled to move on from the hurt and go on of love forward. And what prana did is it enabled me to have the position to take responsibility for myself of soul with a healed body. That I could recognize that the hurt wasn't the way. And that when I would get back into an old routine of working at the hurt, I would quickly come back to a healed position, like a healed, centered, balanced position, and go, wait a second, that's not it, that's not the way. So it enables you to have a platform to work from, to stand up for yourself and take responsibility for yourself of soul. And that's essentially what I've been doing with prana now. Since I've used prana, which was at the beginning of February, my life has changed in regards to my ability to do things. I had no ability to do things prior. Prior to that, for 2 months straight, I was trying to hang out with a friend of mine, and I was every couple of weeks we'd call up, and I couldn't because I was too hurt. Now, since then, I'm hanging out with my friend. I'm keeping in contact with him, and I've taken responsibility for a rehearsal studio. I have a lot of hard times making it there because I'm hurt, and I'm taking responsibility for the rehearsal studio, making sure all the rent's paid, keeping in contact with people. Also, I've started attending the Toastmasters Club, and I'm a member now. And one of my third speech, I won an award, which was excellent. It made me really happy. And I'm going to become a Toastmasters efficient speaker with the Oakland Uptown Toastmasters Club so that I can be available to help other people out with PTSD. And it's something that I love to do, and it's just really super great. And also, too, what I'm doing is I'm finding that I'm associating with people better. I'm associating with people more, so I'm going out and touching bases and coming back. I'm applying myself towards things that I love in life. I started drawing again. I'm going to start playing guitar. I started playing drums again. I started playing electric guitar again, but there's a couple of songs that I'm going to be doing now. Alameda Theater has a Friday night talent night. I'm going to do a Nirvana song there. So I've been enabled to go from a position where I was so physically hurt that I wasn't going to survive to now I'm helping running a rehearsal studio. I'm a member of the Toastmasters Club, and I'm doing a lot of things now of love, playing music again, drawing again, along with other stuff like taking care of myself, eating, cleaning, brushing my teeth and stuff. So this has really turned my life around, enabled me to start being progressively forward. And there's probably some other things I could think about that have really changed and that are forward too. And I just wanted to note that it's not only a physical change, it's not a soulful change, but it's a life change. And you start to go forward and you start to be a human being again. And so that's what prana has enabled me to do with healing my body, to enable me to have a way to take responsibility for myself as soul, and then to participate in life and have a means to be a part of life, to be a human being, to be with everyone. And I'm grateful with all my soul. It's like I'm so grateful to be a part of love, or to do things, or to care. I know that when I'm out, it's going to be hard for me when I get back home, but I'm like, at least I get a chance to be out. At least I get a chance to do this. And so it's still hard for me, and there's a good progression forward, and it's only been within 3 months now. that this has all changed and went from having no way to survive physically to taking responsibility of soul, and in that meantime, becoming a head of a rehearsal studio and joining the Toastmasters Club and playing music again. So I just wanted to say it's also helping me out in these ways too. Okay. Veterans have known the magnitude, the hard experiences of war. There's going to be a lot of feelings that are going to come up. You have to start to get adjusted to having feelings again, because in the hurt, you're in a place that is of to not care, and you can't feel. Though you're caring with it, you're not really feeling with it. And once you stop working with the hurt, then you start to feel again. And don't be afraid that you're going to feel something that's going to be so overwhelming for you that you won't be able to survive it. It is possible to feel that hurt. The truth is that feeling that hurt is much better than not feeling with that hurt. That if you feel that hurt, it's a part of acceptance, and then it goes, and you go forward from there. If you're not feeling that hurt and you're constantly working at that hurt, it's just a hell that will never stop. So when you heal with prana, you're going to start to feel again. You have to be aware that you're going to go through these feelings, and of an acceptance, it'll pass you by simply. It's a general experience of acceptance. It isn't holding on to it and specifically accepting something. It's just stuff's coming up through me as subconscious. I accept it. I move on. Had a bad experience. It hurt me. I accept it. I move on. You have this way to be a human being again. You have this way to function. You have this way to take responsibility for yourself of soul, to go on forward. And so I hope that this helps out in some kind of way. I highly recommend every single person in our government stepping beyond their own understanding and enabling veterans to have a way to use prana. The flowers and the buds only help to heal a certain way. What prana does is it enables you to heal a body completely, and that is something that is unique. If pharmaceutical companies knew what prana could do, they would flip out, because they don't have nothing that even comes close to what prana is. Well, prana is it's the answer for PTSD. It's the answer for a lot of things, because for one specific reason, it heals your body, which enables you to have a position to go forward with. And it has no side effects, and the only real side effects is that you have to learn to take responsibility for yourself of soul, and start to feel again and start to be a human being again. And that's not a side effect, that's a benefit. And so I'll leave this part with this, and I hope that something within this can help someone out. And truly, if every single person who claims to be an American patriot would step beyond themselves and enable prana to be available to veterans, you would see a wave of healing and massive progression that would blow your mind. And that is not without any exaggeration. If you were to do this, it would make you most happy. It would truly, it would be a gift that would just radiate and constantly radiate forward. It has to be enabled, and we're at the beginning of this process, and it's not something that you can do with alcohol, and it's not something you can do with prescription drugs. It's something that is natural. It's something that is of the healing part of medical marijuana in a gel cap form, 100 milligrams, that enables a person to heal physically, to take responsibility for their soul. You cannot ask for anything more than that with somebody who has PTSD. You cannot ask for anything more than that. It's like when I eat food now, it's like having a second chance at life, and I'm like, this tastes so good, and it just amazes me. Like, everything tastes so really good. It's a trip. And it tastes really good.